Hello, I'm Saint Brad. This video will be about life after death. There are many curious people that want to know what's on the other side of death. Now, there's been a lot of people who have had near-death experiences. Um, these people have come back to let us know that there's still life after death. Now, they don't go into too many details, and all their details are different from each other, but they all have one thing in common. That is, we will experience life after this body dies. Uh, to start with, how I got this knowledge, uh, the first the first time that I experienced anything from other than this world was back in 1979 on December 8th, when our Creator came into my mind and spoke these words, "I am your Creator." From that point on, it took him 28 and a half years to get me ready to receive this knowledge. What I mean by this is that the body is the visual part of us that makes us believe that this world and everything in it is the real us. So, this strong delusion is what keeps us from knowing who we really are. Okay? Who we really are is invisible thoughts of God spoken into vibrations, invisible vibrations. These vibrations have wavelengths that are part of the vibration. The high and the low pitch of one vibration, wavelength of vibration, is the lowest common bit of information that exists. We understand a bit of information through computer binary code as a 0 and a 1. Well, that isn't the lowest common form of information. Okay, a flip of a coin, for example. You have a tails or a heads. That's called one bit of information. There has to be a change involved. If there's no change, there's no life. There's no anything. So if we had just a flat line, if there was nothing spoken into existence, if there was absolutely nothing, nothing would exist. Just like a computer binary code. If everything was a 0, nothing would show up on a monitor. We wouldn't have robots moving in this world. We wouldn't have anything happening in this world. Because we need to have change. Change is what gives us life experiences. So, death then is a change that we have to go through to experience the other side, what God has planned for us. This is a big change that's coming, a humongous change. And a lot of people have already experienced this death illusion. And I call it an illusion because everything that we experience are only illusions. It's something that is not necessarily real. I should say it's not real at all. We perceive it to be real because we look at our flesh, we see our hands, we see everything around us moving about, and we think that's reality. We believe that we were born into this world through the womb of a mother, and that's the point of creation. But no, long before any of that came about, God spoke his thoughts into vibrations, invisible vibrations that the physicists today are now getting a clear look at through their mathematics, through equipment designed to peer into an atom. They see these particles bouncing around. They can't explain them, but they know that everything is vibrating. They know that, and we know that. If we get into our sciences, we understand what waves are about. Even though they're invisible to us, that doesn't mean they're not real, okay? In fact, those things, the invisible part of us, the invisible vibrations, is our true existence. That's who we really are. So the death that we experience in this age is only an illusion. It is not real. And in the scriptures and the prophecies, it talks about this eternal life. It talks about the death of our flesh. All the prophecies are about us dying in this world and going on to the next. It's a necessary change to give us eternal life experiences. So, I've already had a near-death experience as a child when I was 5 years old. God gave me a dream about my future death. Back then, I thought it was a nightmare. And I told my parents about it back then, but it was all forgotten. I was the only one that remembered this dream because it pertained to me, this flesh. So anything that happens to our flesh becomes a selfish thing. It's something that we believe in. So in that dream, I have 3 men coming after me near this, it's near a building with a door in it. I open up the door to get away from these people because I didn't know prior, right up to that point of seeing these 3 men, of meeting them before. It just happened to be, I looked over, I saw these men coming at me. I walk in through this room. It's a elongated room, narrow room, with sparsely, it's just a few things like folded tables and chairs up along the walls. And then I go through another door into an office area. I remember a desk. There's like a chair off to my left. Over to my right, there's a light, and I hang a right, and I go kneel down in the corner. And these 3 men, I hear these 3 men coming through the first door into that narrow room, and then they walk into the doorway to the desk or to the office. And I see that the one, they all turn in toward me, and the one man walks over to me, points a gun to my forehead, and pulls the trigger. Now, I didn't feel any pain at all in my dream. In fact, I don't even remember it hitting me. All I know is I went into this peaceful state of mind for just a brief moment before waking up screaming bloody murder, screaming for my parents. They came rushing into the bedroom. I was only 5 years old at the time. They picked me up, took me into their bedroom, and I slept the night in their bed. But at that moment, it was so real that I never forgot it, ever. And every now and then through my life up to the time of 3 years ago, when God finally revealed that dream to me and what it was about, I thought it was just a nightmare, but a very vivid one. But God 3 years ago let me know that that dream is a real event that's going to happen in my near future. And of course, this last 3 years, I've learned where it's going to be at because I was sent back here to California, Campbell, California, where I preach the gospel and have seen the room that I will be killed in. Okay? Now, I'm not here to blame anybody, any group, or anything like that. That's meaningless to me. In this video, I'm just talking about life after death. Okay, and I can get into all those details later on in a different video, but let's focus on this life after death. So that dream then is a real event that's going to happen to me, and I'm going to remain alive, so that I'll know that my flesh is gone, but I'm going to instantly wake up in a new body. From that body, I'll be peering out to other illusions around me, and there will be thousands of bodies. Now, we're not going to look like we do in this age. We're going to all look much differently. We're going to get new flesh called the new earth, okay? The new heaven and earth, and that's spoken about in many of the prophecies throughout the Bible, are talking about this new heaven and earth that God has prepared for us. Okay, the old heaven and earth is what we're living in now. This is under the old covenant, it's called. So this age was meant to teach, for God to teach us who we are. So all this time, God has been having men build things in this world to use as analogies to help explain who we are as invisible vibrations, okay, that he spoke into existence. And where are we? Well, we're in his mind. We're his thoughts. We're his dreams. We're his visions. He dreamed everything up. He's the creator of all that we experience. And you don't have to believe this. And I don't expect you to believe all of this. This is very difficult knowledge to understand. It's extremely difficult because of the illusions that are around us are so perfectly made, like this flesh and everything you see behind me, it appears so real that we believe it's real. Okay? We just take it for granted that this is who we really are. When I asked a forum member today in a post, I said, "Are you real, or is your flesh real?" Well, he wrote back he had no idea what I was trying to get at, because he says, "No, my flesh, that's me. That's me. You're talking about me." I said, "No. Who you are is invisible vibrations being processed into information that's spoken through the illusion called flesh. So the real you, the created being, remains alive. That's your spirit. So the spirit world is something we cannot see. Now, do you have a spiritual body? Well, you can say it that way if you want. All I know is that the being is made out of wavelengths of these vibrations. So each being has a set amount of information, okay, to exist as a created being. So that information is invisible to you and to me and to everybody else. So that is like a processor of a computer. So God's using the computer technology today to help teach me who we are. Now, I've discussed this in another video that I just made the other day. But this video is to help you understand that there is life after death. So the created you, that invisible set amount of vibrations or wavelengths of energy, however you want to describe that. You know, I'm just using terms that science, that God has used science to teach us. Because that's the language we have. We don't have any other languages. Now, in the next age, this body, okay, when it dies, I'm going to wake up in a new body with thousands of other bodies. We're all going to be one person, God's servant, called his voice. So there's two different kinds of people I'm trying to get to here. The servant of God is all God's vibrations spoken vibrations. All that, the whole package then, is called the Word of God. Everything came out of the Word of God. So that's naturally, it's the voice of God too. So the voice of God spoke all the Word into existence. So is there different entities? Not necessarily, okay? The voice then, God created his voice, would be like the first machine. It's like let's say it's a machine made out of vibrations. Okay, he spoke it into existence. From that point on, everything was spoken through the word, the voice, into vibrations that exist forever. These vibrations were meant to go on forever. So a wavelength of energy, of a string of vibration, okay, has variables. Instead of just a 0 and 1, which is a limited binary code, which I explained in that last video, a wavelength then is infinite. It's the high and low pitch changes, the length of the pitch is, I don't know all the terms they use, the scientists use for that, but I know the length and the pitches vary. Everything varies. So that's an infinite language. That's God's infinite language, and that's who we are. That is who he created us within his mind. So a being then is made out of a set amount of vibrations. Okay, so yes, we do have a spiritual body, so to speak. And that is who we are. So we're this process. We're like a processor of information. So all the other information that gives us a defined world to live in is processed through our being. And that's how we're able to experience visions and dreams. That's how we experience life. As a created being, we don't know we exist. So that's why when our flesh perishes, or before we're born into this world, we don't know we exist. We do not know that we're a living being, okay, in the mind of God. But when we awaken in a flesh, when we were born into this world, for example, we did not know we were born as a child because we're not taught anything yet. So as we grow up and grow into an adult body, the information that we take in from our languages of the world, from what we see, from what we hear, from what we smell and taste and touch and feel emotionally, is who we become. That becomes us then in this world illusion. We, then the flesh that you're looking at, this image that you see, is a body that is not necessarily us. It's not real. It's not who we really are. Okay, so then when this flesh dies, your created being remains in the mind of God. It never went anywhere in the first place. There's nowhere to go except the mind of God. We don't go anywhere. It's just that when it's processed into information that gives us a defined world, we move about in that world because it's all processed. Just like I can use a computer to help you understand this. Okay, everything that starts the computer processing comes from invisible thoughts. Those invisible thoughts are actually wavelengths of energy, bits of information that forms these thoughts in the mind of a computer programmer. Those thoughts in, move that body's hands, okay? It's trained hands. Remember, everything's got to be taught in this world. So that man is taught how to type or use programs that automatically put zeros and ones together in a computer binary code. It all started out with 1 0 and 1 1. Computer processing did. So over time, these computer processors, these engineers, learn how to manipulate those zeros and ones into information that can change those invisible thoughts into verbal languages and into movements on fingers to put these zeros and ones together and put them through a computer processor, which is light energy, okay, or some form of energy, some form of information that changes that information that we put through the processor, zeros and ones, into illusions on a monitor that we can understand. So a computer processor can dream up this thought of putting an animated being, this illusion then, on a monitor. But before he can put it on a monitor, he has to go through, process this plan. It's got to all be planned out in his languages that he can understand, and then in the language of the computer binary code, put it on, well, however he does that, and then runs it through a processor, and then he'll get the result as an image on the computer. This is exactly how God does it in his mind. Okay? God planned it, dreamed it. He dreamed, for instance, he dreamed this flesh up in his mind for Brad to exist in, for his created servant. So in his mind, he knew exactly, he built it in his mind. So in order to get that illusion in this world, he had to process it into information that would eventually form this flesh out of my created existence. So, being as I'm all of God's information, okay, it's easy to whatever, all the information he needed then to create this illusion that you're looking at was done long before I was born into this world of illusions, before I was formed in the womb of my mother. Formed, okay? I was not created in the womb of my mother. I was not created by a sperm meeting an egg. That's just an illusion to deceive us, thinking that that's the real us. What's real is the information that made it appear real, the illusions. We're not an egg or a sperm. We're invisible vibrations. We are information that will go on forever. So everything that happened in this world then deceived us from our true selves, the created being, the spiritual being that will go on forever. So when God created us as a being, we will never understand death. That's because when you die in this world, all right, all the memories of this world stay here. We will not bring that information into the next world, the next age, after we die in this world. We will not remember anything that happened here. None of us prophets or saints will understand, okay, that we won't remember then being used by God in this age to speak for him. We will not remember that. We're going to wake up in new bodies with brand new memories, okay, that have never been used before. And it's not the brain that memorizes anything. No, that's just an illusion. The brain is an illusion too. But think of it as our central being. So think of this as the brain as the illusion, the processor, but the real brain then is invisible, and that's our being. So we actually are just a brain, an invisible brain, you could say, the processor, because we don't exist as a physical being in our created existence. We're invisible, invisible vibrations. So the first illusions, the flesh that appear in the next world, will be bodies that God will use, okay, to speak His word, our created existence. So that word will be spoken through all of us, all the illusions, to teach us a new language that all God's people will use throughout eternity. Only one language in the next age. We will not be given all kinds of languages to speak with and try convert them into other languages, translate them, I should say, like we do in this age. That gets very confusing. I lived in Spain long enough to know that people over there cannot grasp a lot of ideas that we have in the United States, speaking English. They can't translate from our language to their language, some of these ideas, some of our experiences. It's impossible. Just like some Spanish-speaking people live in a city can't help people that live in the farm, rural communities, what it's like to live in the city, even in their own language, because they've got all different kinds of experiences that haven't been known by some of these farmers, okay, or these rural people. And some rural people never been to the big cities. They could care less. They never wanted to go. They might have just taken a trip to another town close by to visit relatives and then come back home again. They've never been in a big city. They don't know what it's like to see nightlife going on till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. They don't know what it's like to just see all these people from all over the world up and down their streets talking all these different languages and having to learn a few of these languages in order to sell things. These people in the rural areas of Spain, can't speak any other languages. So when an English-speaking man like me comes in there trying to order something, they have no clue. They have no understanding what I'm saying. So I have to point to everything. Well, then I have to use body language. You see? So body language is important too. So even our body language in this world has totally confused us. All right? Because our body language shows our fears and our emotions. Like when we get angry, when we are happy, when we're excited, when we're sad. All these bodily bodily movements then is another language that's converted from our feelings. Now we can trick people and we can be sad, but we can appear happy, but be sad as can be inside. So the language we're getting inside our mind makes us sad, but in order to lie to people, you appear happy because you don't want people to know that you're sad. Well, this is all going to go away when we die. We'll never have to hide anything in the next age. Everything's going to be open to us. We're going to be freed from this world and from the illusions that we thought were real. So the first people then will be God's servant in the form of illusions, Now, we won't be called saints. We're going to have a different language. I don't know that language yet. Nobody knows. But we're going to be used to develop that language. So as soon as we wake up, God's going to start shaping our tongue and our mouth, because he's got to have the information to move our tongue and our lips. That's how all languages were put together in the first place. It was all done by God in his mind. He had to plan every little detail. Every single, that's why he said, I know all the hair on your head, hairs on your head. He knows everything because he had to create it all. In his mind, he had to dream it all up, all plan it all out, and he had to put everything together to make sense. He had to know the end and the beginning and everything in between and the in and outs of everything before he created anything, before he spoke it into existence as far as bits of information. So that plan that he put together before anything was created had to be precise. Just like a computer programmer, before he programs or gets a program together so we can see the results on a computer monitor or movements in a computer, robots. It has to be done, planned very, very carefully so that the program is put together in the right way so that we can see the illusions in the way he wanted us to see them. It's just like an artist who gets this information in his mind that nobody can see at first, and even the artist can't see it perfectly until he gets the brush strokes painted on a canvas. That's when he can see what he saw in his mind, and then everybody else can see it too. So that illusion, then, the painting, is the language that we all get to experience together. So the flesh, then, is God's language put together in a way we can understand it. So we can look at our flesh and say, yes, I am a living being. So during this age, we thought that our flesh was the real deal, the real thing. But then death confused us. Why do we die? Why did my brother next to me die as a stillborn child? Never got to take a breath in this world. Why? Everybody's confused by these things. Well, God planned it that way to keep us focused on this world and deceive us and confuse us, while he was using his prophets and saints to teach us who we are. So he needed this world, this deception, and this information. I'll call it a lie, okay? Let's just call this whole world a lie. He needed this lie, so when he come into the mind, okay, the mind is where we all exist as information. When he come into the mind to connect to his servant, the servant would recognize the difference between what he spoke into our mind and the world information that we take in with our eyes, ears, and nose, and mouth, and our tongue, and all that stuff. Okay? That information is what we know in this world. The information God speaks to us saints and prophets in the mind is something completely different. That information is our created existence that will go on forever. That's the new covenant. That's the peaceful life that we'll all experience after this death of this flesh is over. So there will be, so let's review this one more time, okay? Our flesh in this world is not the real us. The real us is invisible. Let's just call it a spirit to make it simple. That spirit goes on forever. It was created to go on forever. That's the righteous ones that you read about in Psalms. That's the righteous. If you read the book of Psalms now, after understanding this, you'll see that God's talking about our spirit. He's not talking about a man named Jesus Christ. That's a Christian thing because they didn't understand who we were. Okay? So if you read Psalms, the Psalms is talking about our spirit, the spirit in God. The flesh, then, is the wicked that will be destroyed in this age. Those are the two, okay, the two nations that are talked about in the book of Isaiah. So we've been living in two nations that weren't living in harmony. The one nation, then, the visual us, was deceived from the other nation, the invisible us. And this invisible us, named Jacob, also in the book of Isaiah, is the righteous bunch that you read about in Psalms and lots of other prophecies. That's the one that goes on to the next life. That is the nation, then, that will wake up in the next age and will never be deceived by the flesh, the illusions that we're experiencing okay? That we're experiencing life in, I should say. So we'll always know then, in the next stage, that we are invisible thoughts of God that will remain with Him forever. But that everything we experience beyond the death of this age is another set of illusions, or infinite amount of illusions, okay? Because every vision and dream we experience will be something different. We'll experience things that we can't even understand today in the movies we watch, in the vacations we take. We think we see such wonderful things of God. Well, we haven't even started yet. This is only a tiny taste of what we're going to get in the next age. God says I have many rooms made for you, okay, after death. Many. Now, He wasn't talking about just Christians who believe in this Jesus. He's talking about all His people, Israel. So Israel in the prophecies are the visible us. That's called Israel. Jacob is the invisible us. So both Jacob and Israel will wake up in the next age, but with new illusions, new bodies. So the servant then will wake up in thousands of adult bodies and be used right away to speak this new language into existence. It's going to start out with just some audible sounds into syllables, and then those syllables will form words, and then those words will become a new language. So all knowledge, not all knowledge, but because some of that knowledge makes the illusions, the vibrations in, and then a lot of the knowledge will become a spoken language. And that spoken language then will be used by God's people to share stories about the visions and dreams we all had in our unique experiences. Why do I say unique? Okay. We're all going to awaken on a new earth. So this earth the earth we're living on today, it's only an illusion, by the way. But this illusion will be a new earth, which will be filled with God's creatures and plants of all sorts, a wilderness, so to speak. So all that will be in place when we awaken. We're not gonna see. We're made to perceive life in a whole different way than God's creatures and plants. Okay, we're formed in this age with these questions to search the truth. Well, in the next age, we're not going to need to search the truth, okay? We're going to know Him right off the bat, because in that language, God's going to teach us who we are again. He's going to let us know that we came from a former age, but we won't remember any of it, so it really won't make any difference to us. All we'll know is we're living again in a new body. So he's also going to let us know that amongst us is a created man. So we're talking about created servants in thousands of bodies. One created servant, then, okay? You can call him Christ or the Word or the voice of God, the kingdom of God, whatever you want to say. That's where everything exists within that word. But there's also created man that comes from the Word, and he was made both male and female. So that couple that are with us, that learn the language with us, with the servant, we will learn about them, and they will come together, unite in some kind of. It won't be a sexual experience like we experience in this age that deceived most people, because we learned to love that experience. In fact, that's what distracted most people throughout this whole world, was lust and being satisfied sexually. That won't happen in the next age. So a sexual experience probably won't even happen with a, you know, with the mating that we have with the penis and a vagina. That probably won't even have to happen in the next age. Okay? All I know is that there will be the birthing of new people, however that might be. Okay? We don't need a sperm and an egg, remember, because it's all an illusion anyway. So that's why in this age, God called it the childbirth was difficult for women. That's because they had to go through this illusion and they had to birth this big body out of their womb. Not all of them were big, but some of them were huge. They had to be operated on just to get them out. Okay, that's not going to happen in the next age. Our bodies are going to be way different. Might not even have a womb. In fact, I don't think we're going to have any guts at all. Okay? Because we won't need it. We'll understand that our bodies are just illusions anyway. So however these two new people, this one created man, are birthed, doesn't matter to me. All I know is that this created man is going to get two new bodies, a male and a female. And that they're going to be together in their worldly, in the world that we're all together in, called this earth, and in every individual vision and dream that God gives them to experience life with. Now, the earth will never change. That's what will keep us peaceful. Our bodies will never change once we get to a certain level of maturity. Okay, well, we're going to be born in our adults. As adults, as the servants will. Okay, we'll be born. Our bodies will be formed, and it'll never change. The people who are born then into the world will grow to a certain size, okay, and a look, and never change again. We'll never grow old. We'll never age. We won't understand decay, destruction. Okay, we won't understand disease or what accidents are. We'll never have disabled people in wheelchairs. In fact, we won't even build anything, so we won't even know what wheelchairs are. We won't have to build anything because the environment we're going to live in will be absolutely perfect. No more stormy weather. Now, I can get into all that too, but it makes no difference. I'm just going to try to set the scene for you to give you hope that about the life after death. So I know a lot of details that can excite you, okay? So I was trying to make this a short video, but there's so much to share with you that I just want to keep going. So these visions and dreams we're going to have unique experiences with will be like going to a movie, all right? The first vision or dream, let's just call them a dream. It's a lot easier to get into. The first dream that you will experience will be non-threatening, will be a peaceful experience. It'll be just something that very simple. Like the first movie that was ever made in cinema was actually a man on a racehorse. Okay? They set up like 16 cameras or so many cameras, and as the horse passed through them, they took snapshots. Tick, 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 tick. I don't know if they set a string up or something, but as that horse moved through, it took these pictures. And then they took these pictures and hooked them together and run them through this projector, this first projector. And the first movie then is seen as this man riding a horse. All right? So we can only see or experience one picture at a time. We cannot take in more than that. Okay, so life doesn't come in motion like we think it does. Those invisible, those wavelengths of energy are just there, they just exist. Okay, together, with millions and trillions of these things, these vibrations, these wavelengths, form one picture. This is where quantum mechanics comes in. A wave, quantum wave then, is a picture that can be understood by our created being as it is processed, one picture at a time, at a certain rate, to understand, to give us a visual of movement. So, just like a projector, just like the cinema, where you have one picture flowing at the rate of 24 frames per second, which was the standard rate that the movie industry set up for comfortable viewing. Now, some people can be more comfortable watching faster or slower, but 24 frames per second was the standard set. So, as we watch this, 24 frames per second, 24 pictures, individual pictures, are going by us, are being processed through this invisible us to give us this defined movement, this movie. And this is what I'm talking about, dreams. Okay? So we're going to see movement then in the earthly existence altogether. That's one dream. We're all dreaming together from each perspective, from each processor. Okay? Just like we have one monitor. Okay, but all our monitors are going to be hooked up to that knowledge of God, and we're all going to view the same earth together. But in our individual dreams, we're going to have a whole new set of visuals, new illusions to experience. It'll be just like going to the movie. So the first movie then, the first dream experience we have will be like this basic person riding on a horse. So you'll come out of that dream saying, wow, I had a dream. You know, I had this dream that I was riding on a horse and it was moving. All right? Now, but you and your partner are both going to be in the dream together. Okay? Maybe you'll both be riding on that horse together. Flying down some meadow somewhere. Going through the woods, whatever. Okay? And you come out of that dream, and now you're going to have something to talk about because you'll have the language that the servant was used to speak through the illusions, a new language that we're all going to share. So you'll have this language taught to you so you can share this experience together in your dream. And you'll say, wow, wasn't that a fast horse? Okay. Well, the servant then, okay, we're going to have dreams that preclude, is that the word preclude? Or we'll dream ahead of you, of everybody else. So we'll enter that information into our new language. So that when you have those kinds of dreams, you know, with these images in there, you'll have the knowledge to know what it was. So like in this age, we have dreams that totally confuse us because we see illusions and things that happen to us. It's like if you're on an LSD trip, I've never taken it myself, But people that go on LSD trips have told me about their wild experiences with these illusions that they can't explain. They just know they're different than what they see in this world. It's like going into a dream state and seeing all these different things. Now, I told you probably in that earlier video that I had an experience of flying, of being a crop duster, going down in the field, spraying. Now, I wasn't the pilot. My body was the plane. So if you had an LSD trip and you were the plane, you'll know what I'm talking about. We have the same language. So in the next stage then, all your visions and dreams, the men with their partner, all your visions and dreams will be understood because you'll have the language to understand it with. You'll never be confused by a dream. So you'll always have, even though it's exciting and something new and different, to wow, in your dream, you will have a peaceful experience. You will not think of it as a nightmare and be deceived by it. You will not wake up scared to death because of something new that you can't explain. So each dream then will build upon itself. So let's say in the next stage, you and your partner get on maybe a different looking horse or a different creature that God puts you on, and you'll be running along a creek, okay? And then all of a sudden, that creature jumps over the creek, kind of like flies over it, lands on the other side. And you're going to come out of that dream and say, oh my God, we flew over that river, that stream. Wow, what an interesting experience that was. Oh, I want to do that again. Okay? So the next dream you go into, you get on another creature, and now you get up, you start going along the stream. Pretty soon you're up in the air. Whoa, now you start flying way above the stream. And you start looking down, you can see the stream way below you. And you start flying around and seeing other things. And now you come landing down by the stream again. Now you're going to wake up with your partner and say, oh my God, we were flying all over the place. I can't wait to do that again. I want to fly. I love flying. And your partner will say, well, I like riding the creature. That was a fun creature to ride on. I hope we get another creature like that one. Okay, then next experience you get on, you get a whole different creature that's even more fun to ride. And this time, he just, wow, jets all over the place. He's from here to there in like a split second. And okay, now, if you started out with the basic dream of you and your partner riding on a horse, okay, and the next dream was Star Wars, like the movie Star Wars we had back in the 70s, if that was your next dream, and you didn't have the language to interpret any of that and to understand it with, you'd be totally freaked out. You would not be able to handle all the illusions in there. You would be fearful. You would have very unpeaceful experience. You'd come out of that movie, that dream, all unpeaceful. You wouldn't understand it. You'd have fear, all of that stuff. So can you understand me now about how our visions and dreams will have to start out with basic information that goes along with our knowledge? So as the servant is dreaming new experiences to put into the language that precludes the information, the dreams that man will have with his partner, okay, the male and female, they have to have that language understood. So us servant, we're trusting God for everything. So we'll know that every dream experience, even though it's going to be wild for us, we're going to totally trust him for everything. Like we trust him for moving our lips and our tongue to form audible languages and to build everything. We trust him for every single vision and dream and illusion that we come upon. All right? So in this age, we learn that we're all illusions, and we learn not to fear his illusions. So when we wake up in the next stage, we won't have any fear whatsoever that God gives us, because we'll know we're his servant. We've already been connected to him in this age, so we'll trust him for everything. So we're going to be the first to dream. And then those dreams then will become our new language. And so this new language will keep building, building, and building. Think of the English language we have today. It just started with basic ideas through people who come from other languages. Some leader got different syllables, different ways of expressing himself by God, putting thoughts in his mind and forming his lips and tongues to speak a whole new language. Now this took a long, long time. If you go back to 1000 AD and try read English, or probably if it was tape recorded and we were listening to English spoken 1,000 years ago, we would not understand it at all. It would not be understood by any English-speaking people today. That's because it took God a long time to establish the English language. And now look at the English language. It's prevalent all over through the whole world. Scientists are using English as a basic language so they can all communicate together. It's the most widely used language today because it keeps growing. Look at the computer industry today. Look at the whole new language just that come out of those experiences. We had to come up with new words to express what man built. So all the illusions that we see in this world has to have a language to explain it. And that's why all these languages in the world exist today, because of all the illusions that man built. So starting going way back to Babylon, when man built a building, okay, or first he got an image in the stars that he could form into bricks and blocks and different building things, and he got this building built. Well, God all along was teaching him new ideas, words to express that building. So that became a different language than another leader had when he built his building. So there got to be thousands of languages from the time of the first people who built their buildings to where when the whole world was built up then into cities, there got to be all these different languages. Well, now today, because of English, and Spanish is a very strong language too. Because of those two languages, a lot of the other languages are gone. They're ending because their children are learning the English and Spanish languages, so they don't want to communicate in their native tongue. They don't need them anymore because the English is expressing everything they know. So when you get this internet and the computer age scattered throughout this world today, they're all talking English words to express what they see. You could go into Spain, and they have some words trying to form, say the computer, the ordinado or something, and things like that. But they have to use some English words to explain things, okay? And so does every language. Every language then has to use some English words to describe some of this computer technology until they get their new words to describe it. But English, though, in the science world, is getting to be the easiest language to use for their experimentation and their works to help us understand what's going on. Which I already understand, by the way, because God has taught me everything. So anyway, this is how language will grow in the next age. This is how we're going to learn things, by experiencing new things, new dreams. Now, our bodies then, okay, that we all will be born into this new earth experience will remain the same forever. We're going to look a lot alike because in this age, to confuse us, we had these erratic looks. We all look different from each other. I mean, I've had people come up to me and you look exactly like somebody else, but somebody I don't even know, somebody from another country, for example. How can he look like me? I'm not even born from my same blood, but it's just an illusion. See, it confuses us because my brothers and sisters in my own family all look different from each other. I mean, I have some members that look similar, but we look really radically different. So when somebody says, "I know somebody that looks exactly like you," that's hard to understand. That doesn't make sense, you see. So in the next stage, we're going to look a lot alike. We'll be of one race, one flesh that looks similar, but we'll have enough information, enough change to know the difference between us. Just like a set of twins, when they're identical, they can tell the difference, but their mother can tell the difference between them. You know, most people can't see that, but they can. So we're all going to have similar bodies. That's to help keep us peaceful, okay? Because when we see each other, we won't be confused, like, how come he's so beautiful, I'm so ugly? Why does he have all that hair and I don't? You see? Why is he so big and I'm so tiny? So when you see a movie, like this alien movie, and they're all coming out of the space capsule with this big head and skinny little bodies, they all look exactly the same. That's what I'm talking about. So God is giving us these movies to help us understand what it's going to be like in the next age. So yeah, that's exciting to know, though. Okay, but in our visions and dreams, okay, now here come more of the Buddhists, thinking that, you know, we're going to have all these different bodies, okay, that we came from all these different bodies. Well, they're right in a way, but we're talking about the next age, not this age. In your visions and dreams, you can, okay, but in this age, in this world, we have the body we have. Okay, just like in the next stage, we're going to have that one body. But in our visions and dreams, we're going to take on new bodies. Not probably every dream, we're going to have a different body, but we're going to have many different forms, illusions to experience life in. We may be a spaceship flying through the planets and the stars. You see? That'll come way later, though, because we'll have to start out with basic dreams first. So as time goes on, so dreamland then is going to start out with basic things, okay? And then each experience will be elevated. A little more and a little more. A little more and a little more. We'll never go down. We'll never have dreams to take us back down to basic stuff. All our dreams will keep be elevated a little more and a little more, just like the movie industry we have today. Okay, we didn't start out with Star Wars. We started out with a man riding a horse. And 70 years later or more, we had Star Wars. Now look what we have today, just in 30, 40 years. We have movies out today that just will blow the minds out of people who were observing them, Star Wars in the 70s. We thought Star Wars was cool and unique. We have movies today, or God does, because God created them all, that just, wow, totally out there. But all those experiences and a lot of those movies then by God that He created and had man build and put together are illusions to help us understand the next age. So He used all that stuff. He used all these things in this world to help teach me who we are, where we're headed, how we're going to dream in the next stage, what we're going to look like in the next stage, how we're going to experience life. He let me know there's never going to be an accident. We'll never understand what that means. We're never going to have any body parts torn open. We won't even know if we have guts or not, It won't matter to us because we'll never have them opened up by a doctor to see what's in them. We'll never have an accident. We'll never have a disease. We'll never die. We'll never decay. We won't have research centers and take apart our bodies and try to figure out what's in them. We won't have those questions because we'll understand that our body is only an illusion and it's going to change every dream we have. Okay? So this is what's coming, and this is what's exciting me, and I can't wait to get out of here to go on to the next, because he's got so many experiences waiting for us that, I mean, it's exciting to me, okay? You can see that. And this gives you hope then for life after death. This is not lies that I'm speaking to you. This is the real deal, because he's taught me the past, present, and the future. Now I can go in the past and I can share many, many videos with you just about what happened in the past. But that's pretty boring. Might not be boring to historians, but they would just sit there and argue with me anyway, because they would believe the history books instead of what God taught me. You see? But they can't tell me anything about the future that I'm talking about, because they don't have the knowledge of the future to argue with me. All you have is what I'm speaking to you right now. That's it. And this is going to stay in this video, by the way, and it can't be torn apart, because if they try to do that, you're going to see it. How are they going to put me changing my spoken words in this video to deny what I'm saying? That's why when God said Jesus was coming back in the clouds, okay, he wasn't meaning the clouds in the sky. He was talking about the clouds of information that we see in the internet. And plus a lot more. Because in the internet, we can't get the information about the future. You see? It's impossible. Because that all would have to all go through our Creator. And we're not ready for that. We have to have a whole new language in order to be ready for the new experiences that are coming. So, when we die, don't worry about losing family and friends and all these things that we experience, because we have so much more to come for eternity that you won't even care what happened in the past. We won't be talking about past things in the next age. We're going to be talking about the moment. We're going to be talking about new future things coming, because we're going to anticipate something new and exciting to come. Just like going on vacation today. If you've never been somewhere, you're talking to your friends, oh, I can't wait to get there. I've seen pictures of it. I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to get in the plane and get there and get off the plane and start experiencing it. Okay? And then when we get done with a vacation, we come back and try to tell all our friends who've never been there, and they're all bored because we're the only ones that experience it. But in the next stage, we're all going to have stories to share with each other. We'll never get bored with each other because we all have new things to talk about. We'll never have to gossip, okay, about our neighbors messing around with other neighbors, or what she did or he did, what they did wrong, because that will not be in our language. We won't understand what gossip means. We'll all be talking about fresh, new experiences that we just got done experiencing, and then on into a new one every time we go into a dream. So that life that's coming to us is indescribable today. I know it, I understand it, and I've seen a lot of it in the mind of God. He's taught me all these things, and I can't wait to get there. All right? So this video then is to give you the good news, okay? That your created being will go on forever, and that you're going to be in new bodies in the next stage, experiencing new things for eternity. Never again experiencing death and sadness. We'll never understand that. All right? So, peace be with you for now. I hope these words are comforting to you. I hope they help you anticipate death or life after death, that it's going to be something good, something unique, something individual, and something we can all enjoy together. All right? God loves you more than you can understand, and He loves you with His knowledge that's going to go on forever. It's not the emotions are going to be there, okay? But His love then is knowledge that we're all going to share together and bask in His love. May God be with you. May He bless you with this information, and peace be with you, and He loves you very much. St. Brad signing out. Bye.